Calculating salary and wages step by step. Today, we will learn how to compute salary and wages so you can compare any job fairly. In this topic, we will cover key learning competencies on salary calculations, monthly wages, learn to calculate monthly wages from an annual salary, essential for budgeting. Weekly wages. Understand how to break down an annual salary into weekly wages for detailed earnings insight. Hourly rate. Discover how to calculate wages based on hourly rates, relevant for many jobs. When comparing fixed salary versus variable salary, it's important to grasp their key differences. Fixed salary, a stable, predetermined amount received each pay period consistently, providing predictability for employees. Variable salary fluctuates based on actual hours or days worked, leading to varying pay each period. Understanding these distinctions is crucial for job roles. There are important terms that are essential when discussing pay and salary. First, we have the annual salary. This is the total amount of money you earn over the course of a year. Next is gross income. This term refers to your total earnings before any taxes or deductions are applied. Net income, which is perhaps one of the most critical terms. This is the amount you actually take home after all taxes and deductions have been accounted for. Moving on to pay frequency, which describes how often you're paid. This could be monthly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly, or weekly. Each frequency affects the timing and amount of each paycheck. These definitions are fundamental to understanding how different pay frequencies can impact your financial planning. When we talk about pay periods, we're referring to how often an employee receives their paycheck. This can vary by a company's payroll structure and can greatly influence how an employee manages their personal budget. For instance, if you are paid monthly, you receive your paycheck 12 times a year. A semi-monthly pay period means you'll get paid 24 times a year. If it's bi-weekly, you receive a paycheck 26 times. Lastly, a weekly pay period results in 52 paychecks annually. Understanding payment structures and premium entitlements depends on employee classification as a rank-and-file employee or as a managerial, exempt employee. Recognizing these distinctions is essential for compliance with labor laws and fair compensation practices. What does it mean to be a rank-and-file employee? They are the employees who play a crucial role in ensuring the company's daily operations. They perform the tasks that keep the business running smoothly, but do not hold positions of authority to manage other employees or make high-level business decisions. A critical aspect of being a rank-and-file employee is the entitlement to various benefits. These employees are eligible for overtime pay, holiday pay, and other benefits that recognize the importance of their contributions and compensate them for their time and effort beyond regular working hours. On the other hand, managerial or exempt employees play a vital role in organizations by managing the company or specific departments, including hiring and disciplining staff. Unlike rank-and-file employees, they are exempt from certain labor laws regarding overtime, holiday pay, and night differentials due to their responsibilities and expected availability beyond regular hours. There are different types of employment, and what they mean for both duration and legal status. First, let's look at fixed-term employment. These contracts end automatically on a specified expiry date. It's clear-cut for both the employer and employee. Moving on to casual employment, this type is more flexible and typically does not extend beyond 12 months. They don't have a specific end date, but often rely on performance evaluations. For probationary employment, the duration is usually fixed, providing both parties with an opportunity to assess whether the role is a good fit. Finally, regular employment is what we might consider permanent. It continues indefinitely, or until resignation. Now, in terms of legal status, we have non-regularization, automatic regularization, and possible regularization. Understanding these helps both employers and employees manage expectations and plan for the future. Let's proceed to the salary computation of a rank-and-file employee and a managerial, exempt employee. Let's start calculating the wages of a casual employee. It's important to understand that casual employees are typically daily paid rank-and-file workers. This means their monthly income can vary significantly since it relies on the actual days they work. The concept here is simple: no work, no pay. To compute their wages, step 1. Calculate the daily rate. The daily rate is calculated by dividing the annual salary by 261 days or 313 days, depending on the company's schedule. Step 2. Compute the monthly wage. The actual monthly wage is determined by multiplying the daily rate by the number of days actually worked. Remember, understanding these steps is crucial for both employers and employees to ensure transparency and fairness in wage computation. To explain the typical work schedules, employees may work 5 days a week, typically Monday to Friday, or 6 days a week, typically Monday to Saturday. We also take into account employees who work daily, covering all days of the week, resting on Sundays or other designated rest days. Now, let's talk about the monthly and annual divisors. These are useful for estimating and accurately calculating the daily rates over different periods. Common estimates are 22, 26, and 30.42 days per month, corresponding to different work schedules, while the exact annual computation might consider 261, 313, or even 365 days, depending on whether rest days and holidays are included. The key takeaway here is that understanding these nuances helps in accurately determining an employee's earnings. Let's proceed to example 1, where we will calculate the monthly earnings of Kuya Sipag, a casual maintenance painter. His annual salary is 212,200 pesos, and we're going to determine his pay for September and October. First, let's find his daily rate. To do this, we'll divide his annual salary by the number of workdays in a year. Since he works 5 days a week, this means 261 days annually. Using a calculator, 212,200 divided by 261, the daily rate is 812.26. Once we have the daily rate, we'll calculate his monthly earnings. For September, Kuya Sipag worked the full 22 days. Therefore, his earnings are calculated by multiplying his daily rate by 22. His September wage is 17,869.73 pesos. In October, he took 3 days of unpaid leave, meaning he worked 19 days. So, his earnings for October would be 812.26 times 19. His October wage is 15,432.95 pesos. Take note of how taking unpaid leave days impacts his monthly earnings. In example 2, we have Mang Energy, a welder engaged in constructing a new condominium project in Metro Manila. His contract is fixed term, and he receives a basic annual salary of 219,400 pesos. Now, Mang Energy works 6 days a week, and we need to determine his weekly wages. First, we calculate the weekly wages by dividing the annual salary by the number of weeks in a year. So, we'll take the annual salary of 219,400 pesos and divide it by 52 weeks. This calculation will give us Mang Energy's earnings per week of 4,219.23, providing him with a consistent measure of his weekly income. When calculating wages for employees with fixed term, probationary, or regular status, there's a straightforward approach. The gross monthly wage is derived by dividing the annual salary by 12, reflecting the number of months in a year. This method provides a consistent and predictable income, which is crucial for both the employee's financial planning and the employer's budgeting. Understanding the concept of an hourly rate is crucial for both employees and employers. An hourly rate specifies the exact amount an employee earns for each compensable hour worked. This rate forms the basis for calculating various payroll adjustments such as overtime, night differentials, and holiday pay. It's important to note that when calculating deductions for being late, companies must be accurate and fair. They cannot round down the hours to their advantage. Instead, they must use precise fractional hours or minutes. Lastly, according to the labor code, a 1-hour lunch break is strictly unpaid. This is a standard practice. Let's dive into this example of Teacher Hero's contract. She is hired on a fixed-term arrangement with a total annual salary of 346,000 pesos, covering the period from June 1st to November 30th. To determine her fixed semi-monthly pay, divide the annual salary by 24. That will be 346,000 divided by 24. Her fixed semi-monthly pay is 14,416.67 pesos. In example 2, we'll examine Ernesto's biweekly pay as a newly hired probationary tech support specialist. Step 1. We need to find Ernesto's fixed biweekly pay based on his starting annual salary of 346,000 pesos. Divide this annual salary by 26, since there are 26 biweekly periods in a year. So his fixed biweekly pay is 13,307.69 pesos. Step 2. Calculate Ernesto's daily rate by dividing the annual salary by the total number of workdays in a year, which is 261 because of a 5-day work week. So his daily rate is 1,325.67 pesos. Step 3. With 1 day missed, we subtract his daily rate from the fixed biweekly pay to determine his actual pay for that period, 11,982.02 pesos. This approach helps clarify how even a single day's absence can affect one's take-home pay. In example 3, Sir Ingat is a regular, permanent HR officer. His annual salary is set at 430,000 pesos, and he works a standard schedule of 22 days per month, 8 hours per day. However, his attendance record shows that he accumulated a total of 60 minutes of lateness across different days. How much will his semi-monthly be? Step 1. Let's establish his fixed semi-monthly pay. Divide his annual salary by 24. So his fixed semi-monthly pay is 17,916.67 pesos. Step 2. We need to break down his salary into daily and hourly rates. This step is crucial because it helps us understand how much his lateness affects his overall earnings. To find the daily rate, divide his annual salary by 261 days because his work schedule is 22 days per month. So his daily rate is 1,647.51 pesos. To find his hourly rate, divide his daily rate by 8, the standard workday. So his hourly rate is 205.94 pesos. Step 3. With those rates in mind, we can calculate his pay considering the 60 minutes of lateness. So his semi-monthly pay with deduction is 17,710.73 pesos. This helps us see the real-world impact of punctuality on earnings, even for a regular employee like Sir Ingat. In example 4, focusing on Damit's situation as a newly hired probationary store manager. Her contract states a starting annual salary of 550,000 pesos. Now, the key point here is her additional work during the first month. Damit has put in 12 hours of overtime and also worked on a regular holiday. Typically, you might expect these factors to affect her gross pay. In this case, because she is a managerial exempt employee, she does not receive any extra pay for these extra hours and holiday work. In calculating her gross semi-monthly pay, divide the annual salary by 24. Her fixed semi-monthly pay is 22,916.67 pesos. This means her pay remains consistent without adjustments for the extra time she worked. In this example, we're looking at Nani, who has a fixed-term contract as a project director for a real estate firm. His contract lasts for 8 months, with an annual salary of 730,000. This means his monthly salary is calculated based on this annual figure. So his monthly pay is 60,833.33 pesos. Despite the additional hours and effort, Nani's monthly pay remains unchanged because his contract as a managerial, exempt employee specifies no extra pay and no late deduction. In example 6, we are examining Tabay's earnings as a permanent operations director at a commercial firm. To determine his semi-monthly, Step 1. We begin by finding the fixed semi-monthly pay. Since there are typically 24 pay periods in a year, we divide the annual salary by 24. This gives us Tabay's regular earnings of 30,833.33 each semi-monthly period. Step 2. Next, we calculate the daily rate. To do this, divide the annual salary by the number of 365 since he is a managerial, exempt employee. This step helps us understand Tabay's earnings on a daily basis. Step 3. Finally, let's compute his pay considering the 1 day of absence. Subtract the daily rate from the semi-monthly pay to account for the unpaid leave. So he will be receiving 28,805.94 pesos. Let's break down the process of calculating salary using a straightforward method called the computation ladder. Starting from the top, finding the fixed pay. This is done by dividing the annual salary by the pay frequency. This is crucial because it sets the baseline for all subsequent calculations. Next, we calculate the daily rate. This is done by dividing the annual salary by the number of workdays in the period. This step is important as it gives us a clear picture of what is earned each day. Moving down, we determine the hourly rate. This is derived by dividing the daily rate by the number of working hours in a day. This rate is particularly useful if we need to account for overtime or partial workdays. Finally, we find the minute rate. Although it might seem overly detailed, having this precise breakdown can be invaluable in certain payroll scenarios where every minute counts. Remember, understanding these steps helps ensure fair and transparent compensation for all employees. Now, why are employees typically paid twice a month? First, the labor code plays a crucial role here. It mandates that salaries must be paid at intervals not exceeding 16 days. Essentially, this means employees should receive their pay at least every 2 weeks or twice a month. This payment schedule isn't just a legal requirement, it's also highly practical. By receiving paychecks twice a month, employees can manage their budgets more effectively. Additionally, from a business perspective, this schedule helps in streamlining payroll processing. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Follow me for more learning videos.